Welcome to episode 8 of my 172 or 20mm review series, primarily focused on Second World War miniatures. However, the company in question today, Elhiem Miniatures, have a huge range of World War II miniatures as well as modern conflicts such as present day in Afghanistan, going back to sort of like the Cold War, etc. So it's really worth checking out if that's your kind of thing. Their World War II range has plenty of forces from both the Allies and Axis, both in the Pacific as well as the European theatre. Today we're going to be looking more at the European theatre, specifically some US Army models, but their range, as I said, covers plenty of others. So you've got the British in there, you've got the Germans, you've even got some Thais, which is crazy to think of in this scale, but that's just fantastic. But anyway, let's go ahead and have a look at some of the samples that were sent to us. So a huge amount of samples were sent to me by the fantastic team at Elhiem, so a huge thank you goes out to them for that one. First of all, we're going to take a look at some US Army models. Now the first thing you can see straight off the bat is that they have got plenty of detail. When I looked at them straight away, I went, wow, these are really nice figures. They proportion nicely. They're a little bit taller than some of the other ones that we reviewed. Not as tall as the new AB range or some of the AB range that you've seen, but they're up there with the taller side of things. The metal that they use is really tough. I was trying to bend one of the barrels and it was taking a lot of force. I mean, I've not got the biggest muscles, but yeah, normally you can bend them pretty well. So they're really tough, so you won't have to worry about bending anything. There's a bit of flash, as I was just pointing out there, but as I said in pretty much all my other videos, that's pretty much standard for metal models. I'm yet to find a company that's going to provide you a model with none, even plastic. So yeah, don't be expecting any of them to be coming like pristine. You're gonna have to do a bit of cleanup. Nothing a bit of fire won't achieve and fix up for you. So here you go, I'm demonstrating the bending of the barrel. I'm really having to put some force into that to bend it, so it's gonna stay really good on your tabletop. You're gonna be able to drop these models, which I wouldn't recommend doing, but you're gonna be able to drop these models and they are gonna be very resilient. Now in terms of the Americans, these models are really nice. Lot of detail on them, but some of the detail isn't as thick or as enlarged as you would expect to see on a 20mm model. What I mean by that is some of the pouches or the straps, for example, blend in with the uniform just a little bit more, whereas some of the manufacturers will make sure that strap stands out a bit more. So when we're painting it, it's easier to paint. It's not a problem. It just means that you don't want to be putting on a heavy coat of paint because it will easily potentially miss some of that detail. So just be aware that when you're painting these, you want to be going with the 2-coat method of paint. So put a thin coat down first and then follow that up with a second coat. But that's pretty much par when you're painting, unless you're in a rush like I always tend to be. So yeah, just bear that in mind. As I was showing there, again, the barrels are really thick. The poses are very natural. The firing poses look very natural. The pointing poses are very natural. Plenty of detail in the weapons, specifically these M1 Garands, as well as the Thompson that was on just before. And you can see there's a bit of flash there that just comes straight off. That is rock solid as well, that piece. So you might even be able to use that as, I don't know, a bit of broken brick or something, because it's gonna withstand a lot of bashing around. But yeah, really nice pose, this guy crouching down. I'm really chuffed with these US models. I do have some AB US normal infantry, but not very many. This guy is an engineer. He's got some wire cutters, which is a really cool touch because you don't really see too many of those. One of the arms on the wire cutters was broken, but you know what, that's pretty easy to fix up. Yeah, really nice, plenty of detail. This guy is throwing a satchel, which is a really cool touch. This is like an action shot, which is cool. He's just about to lob that satchel into wherever he's going. Very little cleanup. All the areas that have got flash have got a minimal amount, so just a little bit of careful filing will definitely fix that up. And then we've got a flamethrower, so yeah, you can easily make out that he's got a flamethrower, obviously. Looks very natural. Looks like he's just getting ready to launch some flame into some poor soul. But yeah, overall, they look really nice, very unique in terms of what Elhiem offer. So not just the US Army stuff, these are like Rangers, but also, as I said, the ties, that's just really crazy. So yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, I really love this guy with the bazooka. Really, it's a really good pose. The bazooka's nicely done. Bit of cleanup involved on the helmet. But I think that was pretty much the case with all of them. You can see here there's just a few little bits of flash that need a bit of a cleanup, but nothing a file won't sort out. He was kind enough to also send me some Germans. Now I believe these were a mix of Panzer Lehr and Luftwaffe Field Troop, I believe. I could be wrong, but yeah, really nice figures. These I do like. I think I prefer the Germans to the Americans, just on a personal level in terms of how they look. Yeah, really nice. This guy's a forward observer or some sort of radio operator, which is really cool. Pose looks really nice. We've got a guy with the binoculars here, so he's obviously spotting targets for artillery. So these will be of much use for people that play battle group and chain of command, even bolt action at this range, when you need an observer, etc. So they've got the models for what you need. A little bit of cleanup involved. I like the fact the bases are flat. I know, for example, when we reviewed Adler, they put down some of the base for you, which is okay, but I feel like it ruins some of the detail on the very bottom of the model. So when it's got a flat base like this, I can make it how I want to make it. So if I want to make it really muddy, I can, or flat, etc. And then the actual gun teams are really nice. The only thing that I didn't show in the camera there is the fact that the bipod is one piece, and where the actual arms of the bipod go away from each other, there's a big bit of metal in there. Now, if you're pedantic like I am, it means you're just going to have to cut it out. And with this metal, that's probably going to be quite tricky. I didn't think about it until this video. But yeah, it's going to be quite tricky. But yeah, I'd recommend doing it. They sent me a couple of figures of the same pose. I'm not sure if it's like an older metal used. They looked very similar to me in terms of how they cleaned up and what they look like. Well, I haven't actually cleaned up, how they would potentially look like when they've cleaned up. But yeah, overall really nice. The Kar 98's got plenty of detail on there, as you can see. The actual gun on this is a little bit easier to bend than the US stuff, or on this model at least anyway. But that's really tough still compared to a lot of other manufacturers that we've reviewed in this series. So that's nice. I do like this pose. I think this is a really cool pose mid-run with his MP40. I think that just looks really cool. Need to get a bit of flash out of there, but that's, yeah, like I said, it's just par for the course really. It's what you're gonna see, as well as got tons of detail in there. So he's got all the equipment you'd expect to see from your sort of typical German infantry, and the helmet is very nice. I was trying to look at the facial expressions, which I'm not sure I captured too well on the camera. The facial expressions vary. They're just not as detailed, but that's okay. That's, you know, at 20mm size, you're probably going to not be too focused on the faces anyway. So we can see I'm just comparing the two lads throwing the grenade. And you can see that the MP40's got some detail in there. The grenade is being thrown. The one thing I will also mention is none of the weapons seem to have straps. Now I know this is probably something to do with the way that the person sculpting these just probably wants to avoid putting straps on, because they can be a pain in the arse, even to paint sometimes. But you know, straps are probably more realistic, or rifle straps I should say. But yeah, I'm not too sure. If that's your sort of thing and it's going to bother you, then these might not be for you, at least this range anyway, of Germans. But I can't see that being too much of a problem. You can always just green stuff yourself a few straps. The MG34, which this guy's got, is lovely. The MG42 is lovely as well. They're the exact same model in terms of pose and what's on them, helmets, facial expressions, etc., just with two different weapons. Makes sense. it's going to save the sculptor a lot of time. They've already got the model, he just needs to change the weapon, right? So I can understand that. Same with the ammo loaders, or the assistant gunners I should say. They just look exactly the same. But you know what, I can appreciate that. I can really understand why that would be the case. And then I got sent a Hornet, which was a bit of a shock. I was like, okay, this isn't what I was expecting. It actually looks really cool. I'm really tempted to paint it up. But yeah, this is a nice addition. Now, my good friend John over at Jack Sarge Painting messaged me before this video was going to be released and said, look, I've got these Elhiem models that I painted up for Elhiem. I'd love to give you access to them to put on the channel. So that's fantastic. He's a good friend of mine actually in the YouTube realm of friends that I've got. He's a fellow Aussie. He paints some fantastic stuff. As you can see in these pictures, he's painted up these US Paras, which you'll see on Elhiem's website, which are just a fantastic set of figures. His YouTube channel isn't like mine in terms of like giving you painting tutorials. He just wants to sit down, tell you about what he's doing, answer a few questions, give you some hints and tips as to what he's doing. He's a fantastic painter. I also believe he's a commissioned painter, so he might have a bit of work free. I'm not too sure if I should be saying that, John, so I do apologize if I've given you unwanted work. But yeah, really good painter. Is really worth going checking out. He's a top bloke. Yeah, so definitely go and show him some love if you haven't. As you can see, he's painted up the US Paras. He's painted up some British infantry, he's painted up some commandos, and he's also painted up some Royal Navy sailors. Yes, Royal Navy sailors, and they looked great. Out of all of them, as great as job as he's done, I think the Royal Navy stuff looks fantastic, and here you go, they just look absolutely awesome. So top stuff, mate, well done, and thank you for letting us use your pictures. So let's take a look at how they compare to others. So we've got AB, Elhiem, Adler, Early War Miniatures, Planamea, and AB again. So you can see that Elhiem are pretty much up there as being the biggest that we reviewed so far. But they are a fantastic range of figures, so don't let that deter you. And this is just the US Army that we've been looking at. So overall, I will rate Elhiem 26 out of 30. So level of detail was 8.5. Casting quality is an 8.5 and overall satisfaction of 9. I think their range is fantastic. The detail on the models is great, and the casting quality again is really good. I particularly like the type of metal that they're using just to make it just a little bit more sturdy, the weapons, etc. So overall, Elhiem are a fantastic company. Fantastic set of figures that they've got as well. I'm really keen to grab myself a set of some of those modern figures. Some of the pictures that they've got on their website really draw me into going down the modern route. So if that's something you'd like to see, please let me know. A huge thank you goes out to Elhiem again for sending me these samples. I know it's a bit, do you want to send samples to a YouTube vlogger or whatever you want to call me? But yeah, thank you so much for doing that. I really do appreciate it. Another huge thank you goes out to all of my supporters and Patreons. You know the deal. You guys are just absolutely amazing, and I really couldn't do this without you, as well as my YouTube channel members as well. With all of that, I'm going to leave it here. We will be reviewing Exxon Das Miniatures next, so keep an eye out for that one. That'll probably be in a fortnight's time. But other than that, I will catch you at the next one. Thank you.